Hi, and welcome back to Fedmail. Thank you for joining us on this Friday afternoon. Today is August 8th, and Shabbat Shalom. I want to begin by talking about controversial New York City mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani, who again this week gave an interview in which he explained that statements like globalize the Intifada need to be taken in context. I want to put that aside for a moment. The FBI released data indicating what many of us already knew to be the case, to be true, and that is anti-Semitism continues to rise. Now, Jewish organizations since October 7th, and certainly in recent months since the killing of pro-Israel advocates in Washington, D.C. and Boulder, Colorado, along with all of the vandalism and other anti-Israel, anti-Semitic incidents that have happened around the world, have called on public officials, those with a public platform, leadership positions, whether online or in elected office, to act responsibly. And we need to continue to do that. We are facing something that we haven't seen in decades, and it is really important that all of us act responsibly, regardless of what side of the issue you're on, or quite frankly, whatever the issue is. So I will leave it at that. Turning over to Israel now. Israel announced this week, after a very lengthy war cabinet meeting, that plans were now released that Israel would, the IDF would take over the Gaza Strip in its entirety. They said that this was necessary to root out Hamas, to return the hostages. Now, hostage families were very, very concerned about this. They've been advocating for an end to the war for the last several months. And analysts from around the world have raised alarms over these plans. Netanyahu gave some speeches this week in which he said that this would just be transitionary. Israel would continue to provide security, but that the governing body of the Gaza Strip would be turned over to an Arab-led government, not the Palestinian Authority, not Hamas, but some other third party that has yet to be identified as of this recording. So we'll see how that plays out. But of course, there's continued concern about the humanitarian situation there, the well-being of the hostages. There was a horrific video released earlier this week, which one of the hostages was shown essentially looking incredibly gaunt, down to skin and bones, forced to dig his own grave inside one of these terror tunnels. It caused great alarm and panic among the population of Israel, and there are, again, I'm somewhat speechless about all of this, but we'll see over the next few days how this plays out. Hamas, of course, stepped away from the negotiating table not long ago, which was heartbreaking, especially after there was such optimism in the weeks preceding it. This week in Israel, there was also great controversy over the Haredi draft bill. Haredi leadership there pushed back against the proposal to enlist more yeshiva students, Haredi yeshiva students, into the IDF, saying that this was declaring a war on their community. Israel, at least in regard to this issue, is really fraught with tension, great tension over this. And if you know how the war has been conducted since October 7th, you know that the burden of it has basically been shouldered by the reservists who go into combat, return home, have to pick up their lives. And you can imagine how taxing that is, not only on their physical well-being, their families, but also on their businesses. So the Israeli government, recognizing this personnel crunch, is looking to enlist the Haredi yeshiva community into the IDF. Also this week, Germany announced that it would cease arms shipments to Israel, which is noteworthy because Germany is one of Israel's closest allies. And there were continued calls this week to recognize a Palestinian state. Israeli leadership said that this would be rewarding Hamas for October 7th, and we'll see again how this plays out. The Security Council, United Nations Security Council, is planning to meet this week related to Israel's action in Gaza and the conduct of war and these new plans to control the remaining area of the Gaza Strip. Israel controls something like 75 or 80% of the Strip as it stands now. And as I talked about in previous editions of Fedmail, Eyal Zamir, the commander of the IDF today, has taken this approach, saying that it's necessary to control more territory. But as it relates to this particular plan and strategy, he has pushed back against the civilian government, that is the war cabinet, to say that this will be incredibly difficult. So we'll see again, how things play out. Wanting to take a look at this edition of Fedmail, we've got a great video from our incoming Shlicha, Aviv Levin. We look forward to welcoming her into the community in just a few weeks. We want you to mark your calendar for a visit by a delegation from Emek Medical Center. They are a hospital in our partnership region, and they do incredible work, especially since October 7th. And they're also known for doing great work within the Arab-Israeli community. So we're excited for them to come to the U.S., tell their story, find opportunities for collaboration and support. Coming up, there is a newcomer brunch. Now, we're excited to welcome newcomers to our community each year. There are several dozen families that join our fantastic Central Mass community, and there is a newcomer brunch at Dean Park, 10:30 a.m. And I think it would be great to see some leadership from the congregations attend that. There's a Havarim summer party taking place on the 14th, and on September 30th, make sure to mark your calendar for this. The Center for Civic Friendship at Assumption University is hosting Rabbi Meir Soloveichik, a big name, and that should be a fantastic lecture on 60 years since Nostra Aetate, Vatican II, the relationship between the Jewish and Catholic communities. So don't want you to miss that. A lot going on. As always, we are praying for peace, praying for the return of our hostages, praying for the well-being of all and prosperity for all. Enjoy Shabbat Shalom. Get out there and enjoy summer. Hope you're doing well, and thank you for supporting Jewish life in Central Mass and around the world. This has been Fedmail. See you later.